Let's talk now about Micron, because at this moment it's the top performer in the S&P 500 after it issued strong guidance in its earnings report. So for a closer look at it and in the memory space and the semiconductor space, let's welcome in our panel for the day: Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist at the Futurum Group, and then William Kerwin, Equity Analyst at Morningstar. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, Renita.
Of course. Cory, Thank you. Cory, let's start with you. What do you like most in this report? Many people say the outlook was the best part of it, but do you see any other parts of it that really struck you?
Yeah, I mean, the best part of the outlook was the long bomb. It wasn't the sort of short right across the middle pass. I mean, it sounds like this next quarter might be a little bumpy for Micron. At least they suggested as much. I think some of the initial reaction to the stock in the after hours was not great. But I think long term, what we really see driving Micron is, shocker, AI and AI in the data center. And they are seeing just fantastic growth in that sector. But there is a little bit of bumpiness right now. And I think that, look, when you look at Micron, you've got to look at it in three ways. You've got to look at it short term, medium term, and long term. And the long-term story, I think, is the most important one. This is the most exciting time in semiconductors in at least 15 years. The Micron executive said so on the call. I spoke with some venture capitalists this morning here in San Francisco who were just talking about semiconductors and saying it's so exciting right now. It hasn't been like this in years. And yes, we're seeing it in the stock prices.
Absolutely. And William, now your latest note called guidance a positive surprise, but you also said that shares were overvalued for Micron. Why is that?
We did, Renita. It was a very good quarter for Micron. We're seeing rebounds in both the DRAM and the NAND markets, which are coming off of precipitous declines in Micron's fiscal 2023, its last fiscal year. And we really think our recovery thesis is continuing to play out with the results last night. We expect really strong growth in fiscal 2024, in fiscal 2025. But stepping back and taking this into a long-term context, Micron remains a cyclical stock. It's very heavily weighted in the memory markets. Over the long run, we expect to see upswings like we expect in the next 2 years, downswings to follow, so on and so forth. And so when we take that long-term view, we just think shares look a little overvalued right now fundamentally.
That's interesting. So then what kind of trends do you think are worth investors watching when it comes to Micron, William?
Well, we definitely think there are numerous attractive secular trends. You know, to the other panelists' point, AI is a strong growth driver for them. But simply put, we just think that the memory industry will continue to be cyclical. So we see the stock go up when there are periods of strong demand outstripping supply, but it's just as prone to periods of a glut of oversupply, cratering pricing like we saw in fiscal 2023. And so we have to take that balanced outlook over the long term.
Cory, go ahead. Sorry about that. Okay, I think we have you still here. Not sure if we lost you, but let's go over to Cory, because I need to know what you think about Micron versus its other big players in the AI space. Where do you think it matches up right now?
Yeah, I mean, one of the really peculiar moments we're in right now with semiconductors is that NVIDIA is alone in what they do. Yes, they've got competition from AMD. We've talked about that a lot at Futurum. We've written about that a lot in our research notes. But NVIDIA is really in a sole spot commanding this graphic processor business. And they are commanding, unlike the days when Intel was the company dominant in semiconductors, because NVIDIA is not doing its own manufacturing, they're sucking a lot of the manufacturing supply up from the global semiconductor supply chain. The result is it's having an effect on all of the other semiconductors, even companies like Micron, which control their own destiny through their own fabs and are making, as was suggested, a commodity product like NAND, that many DRAM that many other companies, or a handful of other companies, can make. Even though it's that commodity, yes, when the tide is rising, it's fantastic for Micron. And when the tide starts to go out, Micron's one of the first companies to feel that effect. But right now we're in rising tides, and we're seeing that not just in this calendar year, as we've already seen looking back on next year, but the year beyond, and we're starting to hear that in some of the guidance that we're hearing here. So what we're really keeping an eye on here is we need to listen all the time, and Micron has always been the most important company in semiconductors for the shift in direction and the shift in inventories. And what we heard from their recent call yesterday was that inventories for their customers are not actually building. Customers are using the inventory they have right now, but that's the short-term outlook. The medium and long term is growth, 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 even with production capacity constrained. And that's got to be good news for Micron and, frankly, all of the big companies in semiconductors right now.
Oh, it should be good news. And man, we were just getting into the good part, but we've got to hold it here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on Schwab Network. Cory Johnson and William Kerwin.